Welcome back, all our 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and we are doing our post-game wrap-up from the game Necrons versus DeathWatch with a final score of Necrons 7, DeathWatch 5.
I still can't believe that's the score of our game. But yeah, that was for the what's the mission called?
Only War.
Yeah, the mission from the new rule set, where in the back of the rules there's the first mission you run, which you just score 1 point for each objective you control in your command phase. So yeah, that's why it was a low scoring game.
But honestly, to tell you, after playing that game, I'm glad we picked that mission because my God, with all the rules and flipping through stuff and trying to make sure we were doing stuff right, that was rough. That was a exhausting game. Now that we've seen it, though, honestly, the game could play a lot quicker now that we're not flipping through everything so much.
I think the new edition, we need to start learning what questions we need to ask when. And I'm going to create kind of a checklist for my movement phase. I need to make sure I ask which units can overwatch on something better than sixes, or which units will, or where's your free overwatch, or whatever this is happening, because there's...
Well, where's your guy who's going to just shoot at everything every time you shoot at
Where
anything?
is this guy? Where is this guy?
And this guy right here, MVP, Hexmark Destroyer. This guy ran my army. 100%. First of all, he was the reason that my Doomstalkers were +1 to hit. And then every time you try to shoot at something, he just goes, haha, I have 4 pistols, and shoots right back at you. He did very, very, very well. I mean, the Doomstalkers were great, but Doomstalkers were buffed because of Mr. Hexmark Destroyer. Love him.
So what's his buff? He makes every unit within 6 inches of him count as if it has a character attached.
So yeah, feel free to correct me on a bunch of this. We'll talk about him a little bit. We'll talk about some of the stuff that we've seen with DeathWatch and all that stuff, and go into it, because we don't want to play it wrong, but we're playing it to the best of our knowledge and ability based on the rules that we have written at this time. So like his thing is I gave him the enhancement, which was the Sovereign. I'm not even going to bother trying to butcher the second part of that name. But what it does is it basically just counts him as a character for the units that anything that's within 6 inches of him, he counts that unit as having a character in it. So
even if it's a unit that would not normally be able to take a character.
Correct. Because the only things that it does count it for is command protocols and stratagems, because all my stratagems have a 2-tier basis on it. Tier 1 is do the stratagem and have this ability. Oh, there's a character in there. Well, here's a boost to that ability. So that's his enhancement. And then the effects that he was having over the course of the game. First of all, he overwatches on a 2-up for free, even if the overwatch has already been used. 18-inch range. The second one is the more critical thing. So anytime a unit that is shot within 3 inches of him, a unit that's shot that is within 3 inches of him, he can then immediately shoot at that unit that just shot. And that was happening quite a few times, and it was in some ways unavoidable.
Yeah, no, I've learned a lot about Necrons today, and I don't like this guy in particular. It's just you need to make sure that whenever you're going to shoot something, you need to shoot something. If the target unit is within 3 inches of him, you have to make sure that your shooting unit is more than 18 inches from him, because he does have an 18-inch range, or behind terrain in some way that he can't shot. Because otherwise, he could get 10 free 10 free activations in your shooting phase. If you shoot the units all near him 10 times with 10 different units. There's no limit to it. There's no cap on it.
Granted, he's only 1 damage, and that in that sense, but it's pluck damage that you don't want to take. Like if you had in one of the situations, you had a bike with 1 wound left, and then bink, he picks off that bike.
Yep.
So that's what makes him just nasty, is being able to do that little extra wound, do that little bit extra damage, and just hurt. Huh. It's getting late at night here, getting beat up. So let's run over the game and some of the stuff that we've seen. So early on, man, your DeathWatch were moving really quick. Like that was a very quick play. And again, we asked, you had the strat that said target 2 kill teams, and you target 1 as Astari's unit or 2 kill teams. And you chose to target 2 kill teams. Now you had one of your units that said that strat would cost 0 CP when targeted, but now you're targeting 2 units. So does it cost you command points, or is it free and you just get that extra pickup. That's the one question that we're not sure about, but we took it as that way.
Yeah, I can look through the rules commentary a bit, the designer commentary, but we'll have to see if we get some clarification on that. I think in the future to fix that, I just won't put the captain with I won't put the captain with a kill team. I can put it with the Desolators because they are not the Desolation Marines are not a kill team. So I can use free strats on them and then spend the CP and get the 2 usages out of the strat on the kill teams.
What's interesting is though, if you do just target the one, let's say, you could then use the strat a second time. You could pick you could turn to Grey Knights for a turn and pick 3 units up off the field and put them back down.
No, 2 units, but yeah.
Well,
most of the
because you could do the strat twice. Because if you targeted just that one unit, or you target 2 units and then you target just that 1 unit.
Right. Yeah. So I could do 3,
just like Grey Knights.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, they landed, they hit, they ripped the Scorpex off the table like nobody's business, and came after my Lich Guard, and then that was a 12-inch charge you hit. Whew.
Yeah, I rolled a big 12. Not that it did anything. No, their durability is off the charts, and I really found in this game that anyway, the list I built with Space Marines really relies on the Oath of Moment to get the damage done, because otherwise, even something like Desolation Marines, when they're shooting at something that didn't have Oath of Moment, still they're only AP2 on their guns, even though their super crack missiles are only AP2, and everything basically has a cover all the time because of the way the cover rules work.
Right.
So effectively, they're AP1. So a vehicle with a 3-up armor save is still always going to get a 4-up if it's in cover. If it's a vehicle with a 2-up cover save or armor save in cover, it's going to only get a 3-up, which means this is going to take a lot of those Desolation Marine shots to get through and get the work done.
I was really surprised to see that full big 10-man. Any thoughts in your mind about maybe separating it into 2 5s? What's the benefit for the 10-man other than stratagems?
The stratagems and the character. I had the Librarian on there to give him a 4-up involved. Right. I didn't have the points today, but I have an enhancement for 30 points called Beacon and Jealous. I put it on the character that's attached to that unit, and then that unit can deep strike, and they can also use rapid ingress for 0 CP. So that would keep the Desolation Marines protected so they don't get shot by other indirect fire, because there will be situations with an indirect fire shoot-off. So protect them, and then they can drop in, even using rapid ingress in turn 2, and get eyes on a good target and do their work then. And because they'll be shooting at an Oath of Moment target, that I don't need to do any stratagems or anything in the command phase to give them their rerolls.
The only risk with that is if you go first. Because if you go first, then that unit's going to stay away. But again, it's still a matter of you get the first round of shoot. You get to shoot with them at full strength.
Yeah.
Just maybe it might be turn 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can pick indirect weapons and still have an Oath of Moment target and still put some damage out there. I think the big thing with the Desolation Marines is that they're going to be a target for my opponents. Everyone knows they're strong, so they're going to get hit and shot quite a bit.
Well, especially because there's going to be some armies that are going to want to put some cheaper units in the backfield on objectives, and once you get to 50% and can start smacking that unit and make it take battle shock tests, then that's going to be a heavy play. That's going to be a heavy play with them, and then get to a point where now you don't necessarily need to go all 10 into this target. You can go, okay, I'm going to put 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, and just start whittling down these littler, weaker units. Stuff that comes out of Tyranids and things like that can take them out. So they were scary. There was a lot of times they were very, very scary. Honestly, when I looked at your list right off rip with what I was playing, I'm like, well, I'm going to get tabled.
Yeah, no, well, turn 1, I picked up the Scorpex really quick, really just with one of the kill teams.
Yeah.
Ripped through them quite a bit. And then I didn't place the other one well with multiple targets. So the other kill team that I moved into position to kill them had no targets. My bikes weren't in really a good position yet. The Desolators shot into something that didn't have Oath of Moment. So it's still a high skill based game where you need to really make sure that you've got target redundancy. So if one unit does kill something, another unit that was going to shoot at that one can shoot at maybe something else. And I didn't really plan that out very well in this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I am exhausted after that because there's a lot of okay, where does this need to be for this? How do I need to be positioned for this stuff? Just to make sure that all the triggers work. Now, a lot of the triggers out of Necron now, although there was a lot of stacked abilities, it were a lot easier to manage them Only thing I forgot. I think the only thing I forgot was at one point I forgot about the -1 to wound, but it didn't really matter too much because you were on 2-ups.
Yeah, I was using Hellfire rounds, so I was just wounding on 2-ups anyways.
Right.
For that phase. So.
And then I forgot about the fight on death on my Lich Guard because of the crypt
Oh yeah, that would have made a difference.
Now the crypt thralls, honestly, the crypt thralls, like I've talked them up a lot. They weren't overly broken in this matchup. There wasn't really anything extra. They were just 2 extra bodies. The 4 feel no pain on them.
No, they take a lot of damage.
The most brutal of it.
Right.
Yeah. Really, they're not going anywhere. They're staying there with the Lich Guard. They had a good home. Doomstalkers.
Yeah, Doomstalkers are really strong, as we were discussing after the game. It seems like GW has kind of moved weapons into a variety of things. You've got anti-tank weapons that are very few shots, very high strength, high AP, high damage. You've got anti-infantry ones, and then there's some things like Melta-Guns have now moved, instead of being anti-tank, really, because they're still only strength 9 now, which means for a lot of the high-value tanks, you're still wounding on 5s.
Yeah, or on 4s.
Yeah, and because they're reduced range now, they're only 18 inches. Melta-Guns have kind of become an anti-elite infantry. It's the kind of thing you would want to use against Terminators. They've kind of stratified this, but the Doomstalkers, because of the number of shots they get, and they get blast, and because they're hitting on 3s, they're good into vehicles because they're strength 14, AP 3, flat 3 damage. They're good into elite infantry because they're good into Terminators because flat 3 damage. And they are good in even to kind of chaff units because they get a lot of shots.
They do. The D6+1 and then the blast.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people right now, I know there's a lot of people, especially in the Necron community, that are looking more at the Doomsday Arc. Because the Doomsday Arc is strength 15 with a -4 flat 4 damage. And if it sits still, it has devastating wounds.
How many shots does it get?
D6+1.
Okay.
And it's blast. And it has ballistic skill 3. So in a similar scenario with this guy here, we're looking at 2s to hit. Now, the only thing that I don't like is how big it is, how long the model is, and trying to maneuver around it, where the Doomstalkers, like later into the game when I was trying to make that conga line and try and move them up the middle and that stuff, it wasn't too much of an issue. I was able to do it with ease. So it concerns me with that. But the other kicker for the Doomsday Arc is that it has the Gauze Flare Array, which is 2 of these. Each one is 5 shots, rapid fire 5. So if you get within 12 inches, you're looking at 20 shots right off that thing. So there's a lot more volume.
To counter that, though, is that if you have one unit, you have to declare all your shots at one time. With the Doomstalkers, if the first one pops off and you roll really hot and take out a target, well, the next one you just choose a different target. Like we were talking about before, target redundancy. With the Arc, that would, it might be more powerful, but you only got 1 shot.
It'd be the same thing, but I feel like they get in their way too much. I feel like they get in their way a lot more, and then you're going to get into a weirder, longer conga line of stuff that they're just going to get in each other's way.
Especially with Fly being nerfed. The Arc, I assume, flies, right? And it's not quite as not able to just ignore terrain anymore.
And with him, I didn't need to worry about sitting still to get the +1 to hit, so I was just moving around the field. And for the Doom Stalker, it is 125 points versus 185. And I know it's like, okay, that's not that much more, but when you're spending, what is that, 60 points roughly? Yeah, 60 it is 60 points. We're spending 60 points 3 times over. You're literally, like, the cost of 3 Doomsday Arcs is cost as much more as the cost of 1 Doomstalker. Wow, that was all tough. Too much doom. Too much doom and gloom on that.
2 Arcs, 3 Doomstalkers. There.
I'm going to do, you could do 3 Doomsday Arcs, 3 Doomstalkers. Then I could take 3 Doom Sights. Doom.
Does it Overwatch on 5s as well?
No, it does not.
That turned out to be pretty effective this game.
Okay, yeah. That was the one thing, like when I looked at it, I was like, what do I care? It's Overwatch on a 5. That's not a big deal. And then seeing that and using that, like, I took a speeder out with it. I peppered your scouts to be able to control the objective still. So yeah, that 5-up Overwatch is actually significant, like actually matters. The only thing that concerns me right now is the same thing we were talking about, Eldar. Eldar with the amount of mortal wounds and just that direct damage, being able to put it in there. I mean, a Wraith Knight could easily just go 1, 2, 3 on a Doomstalker. I mean, it could go 1 through 2, 3 on a Doomsday Arc. For right now, it's like Eldar can just go 1, 2, 3 and pick up whatever the heck they want.
You know? Yeah, I don't think there's any strategy that works against that other than, hey, GW, pay attention.
No, but we won't get on track on that. So real quick, let's recap the final of this so we can call it a night. For you, what do you feel was what surprised you that maybe did better than you thought it would? I have a feeling I know the answer to that. And what is something that you feel you could have possibly done better, played better, positioned better?
Well, I think I spread myself out too far. I should have just gone for 2 objectives on one side rather than I kind of spread myself out too much. And with the way in general damage is kind of reduced throughout the game, I'm not going to be able to clear you off of multiple objectives. I need to focus on 1 or 2 objectives at a time rather than trying to take the whole center of the board. And definitely understanding, you need to understand the toughness of vehicles versus the strength of your weapons, because it makes a huge difference when you have something that's supposedly anti-tank, but it's wounding tanks on 5s.
Multi-melta.
Yeah.
Multi-melta.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So that's just understanding your damage interaction between your weapon and your target is going to be huge. It's going to take some adjusting. The other thing is the mental load is huge. I think there are a lot of, this guy is one situation where every time you shoot a unit near him within 3 inches of him, he just gets to shoot you for free. You need to really play around that. And most armies have some version of that. And typically it triggers for free. And more armies have something similar to what the Votann had in 9th edition, that reactive reprisal, shooting back. Votann still have it. Sisters of Battle have it.
Knights have it.
But I know, like Space Marines, there's a few units that just have some weird interaction. If you take an Invictor Warsuit, and if your opponent shoots a Phobos unit near the Invictor Warsuit, he gets to shoot for free. So similar to this. And I don't think there's really a cap on that either. I double check the rules. And similarly, if you take an ATV and it's next to a bike unit, a mounted unit, and your opponent shoots that mounted unit, the ATV gets to shoot them for free in their shooting phase. So I see a lot of armies have these interactions that you really have to be on top of, or else they'll get you. They'll scrape a few wounds off here and there, and suddenly your opponent's getting a lot more activations, a lot more opportunities to do damage to you than they normally would have. So you definitely have to be aware of what questions you need to ask during each phase. If I shoot you, what's going to happen? Are you going to do something back? Please tell me.
Yeah, that's definitely, I get what you're saying that too, because it is tough. And it's tough as well. Like right now, it's good that we have this opportunity to be able to play these games in the basements, play these games in game stores and stuff like that, because it's not necessarily our intent to, as it's christened, a gotcha moment. But in the same sense, we're still trying to figure it out. Like, I was not even fully aware of all the interactions that he was going to be able to have, and going, oh, wow, wait, you did this. Like, I mean, well, I think it was on turn 4 or 5. He shot like 3 times. And I was looking, I'm like, man, just not really seeing those interactions and how that worked out and how that played. A lot of it, I was thinking about how Lich Guard functioned, how they did this, and it was like Lich Guard, Lich Guard, Lich Guard. And then I see all this else, so I'm like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
The Lich Guard didn't do that much damage. They
just didn't die.
Yeah, I mean, but as a target, they were threatening because they kept triggering his abilities and absorbing all my fire. So, but yeah, there are a lot of new interactions we have to pay attention to, and they happen in multiple phases of the game where things really happened before. When I have my movement phase, there are multiple things that can happen. For example, DJ fell back. Well, I overwatched him when he fell back. A fallback move can trigger an overwatch. And then there's a question of, well, does his reanimation trigger? But it turns out it doesn't, because it's not in the shooting. Correct. Not in his opponent's shooting phase or fight phase.
Shooting phase or fight phase of your opponent's turn.
The number of interactions that happen in different phases that didn't happen before has increased. So we just have to really, and DJ and I really did this game, is when you're playing practice games, you need to work collaboratively with your opponent. Like, for example, at one point, he let me switch what my Oath of Moment was during the game because I chose poorly based on what I should have been trying to do, because this is something we need to plan out. I choose the Oath of Moment in my command phase, and then I need to be ready for. And then throughout my shooting, it changed what I was trying to do, trying to shoot him off objectives rather than destroy his damage dealing. And he just kind of worked with me like, oh yeah, we'll allow that. I think there was something in the game where something similar where you wanted to take something back because we're trying to learn the game. But really, we need to work collaboratively because the rules, it's going to lead to a ton of gotcha moments if we're not saying, hey, you can do that, but just so you know, my unit will get to shoot you back.
Yep.
And that's exactly like when I targeted this unit, he's just like, well, just so you know, he's going to get to shoot you back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for it anyways.
Yep.
But at least he knew and there was no hard feelings. There was no gotcha moments. So work together as we're learning this game.
So, and then the second part of my question, MVP. What surprised you? Was there anyone that did a little more than you expected, a little more damage, a little more this, a little more that?
Yeah, the Proteus kill teams are really strong. The fact that I lost them early was tough, but just the combination of things I can put on on my army, I can do sustained hits, and then I can also give extra AP or extra range or ignore cover or auto wounding anti-infantry 2-up and anti-vehicle 5-up. I have these different options, and the right combination of those can be extremely powerful. So I really need to plan that out. It worked really well in turn one, where one unit just wiped out Scorpex. That was really strong. Yeah. But then I didn't really plan it out well for the rest of the game. So it really takes a lot of planning as to what I'm going to try to do this turn and how I can use my strats and my army rules and my Oath of Moment and the innate rules in the units to really take advantage of that.
I think it starts to get to a point where kind of like one of the things is like we do play a lot, and we've played against each other quite a bit, and you've gotten a chance to see basically everything in the Necron army of 9th edition. And when you're facing off against my Scorpex in 9th edition, you had to deal with a command point strat to make a -1 to wound. You had to deal with possibly a Chronomancer giving a 5-up invuln, and now those things are not there. So when you hit them and they were much more fragile than they were before, you're like, oh, I over-dedicated. Oh, okay, oops, into that. So yeah, a lot of it is going to come down to like you said, the weapon interactions. Like, okay, what is the toughness? What is the save? Where are you going to get cover or not? What's really going to happen? And definitely is going to be take some time to get used to some of those things as we see more and more develop. And one thing that's really obnoxious with Xenos armies, I gotta say, and I mean it's true. Well, Xenos armies do not usually have streamlined stats on things like, oh, this guy moves 7, this moves 6, this moves 5, this has 12 wounds, toughness 8, toughness 6. Your Scorpack Lord's a 7. Here's a 4-up invuln.
Oh, with Necrons, it always surprises me. They'll have some gun that's strength 8 and AP 0. I'm like, what? That doesn't even. Why would it be that strong but not be able to punch through a t-shirt?
All right, here we go. Strength. I'm shooting 12 shots, strength 3. Oh, okay. AP 7. What? D3 damage plus 6 mortal wounds. Wait, what? Wait. Didn't you just say that was strength 3? Yeah, there is no gun like that. That's an imaginary gun. But needless to say, those are the things. I was really going over the same question to you over into this. MVP right here all day. But the thing
I think the partnership of him. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of strong stuff. Like the Doomstalk is really good.
He just carried the weight.
Guards were just a huge bullet sink. They soaked it all up.
He just carried a heavy weight of the army. But the one that actually, the one thing that surprised me the most was the Scorpack Lord. That charge hit, swing through everything on the 4-up invuln. I was really, really not so much so I'm like, oh my God, every army needs 3 Scorpack Lords. Just, I was surprised. I was very surprised at what he was able to do, what they both were able to do, and how much they were both able to clear. That makes me go, well, maybe I'll try running them a little more. There's a lot of other units I want to try, but that wasn't a bad initial showing from them.
Yeah. No, I know, especially in the Space Marine book, a lot of the characters experience the reduction in durability because now they're attached to units and have that protection. So most Space Marine characters lost a wound, or their invuln's not as good, or they just don't have as many feel no pains or that sort of thing.
Scorpack Lord went up.
Scorpack Lord is what, T7?
T7 from T6.
6 wounds? 4-up invuln?
4-up invuln.
But
and then he's got a squad with him for a bodyguard till he gets there.
Yeah.
And then when he hits you, he's hitting you with lethal hits.
Yeah, no, we've made a lot of assumptions like, rerolls have gone down in general. For some armies, they zeroed out. Votan lost every single reroll to hit. There are no rerolls to hit. And then other armies got more rerolls. So we can't make assumptions like, oh, the entire game has become less killy, or oh, all the characters are less strong. It turns out Scorpack Lards are one that actually went up. They're actually stronger than they were before, more durable, and you can hit harder.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I had any rerolls in this game. I don't think there was anything in my army that triggers a reroll at all.
Everything was hitting on 2s. Why do you want to reroll?
I want to hit all of them. I want to reroll my 1s. But yeah, no, he definitely impressed me. I was very happy with that. Catacomb Command Barge.
Yeah, again, the durability of Necrons has shifted from reanimation is still strong and useful because it doesn't happen after every single interaction. But the durability now is there seems like there's more feel no pains, more invulns, and that sort of thing. At least in the list you built today, it was super frustrating to train and play into because it just took again Catacomb Command Barge. You failed some saves. My Desolators got 4 shots through and ended up being 20 wounds on a 9 wounds, 9 wound model, and he survived with 1 wound left because you just rolled those 4 up feel no pains a little bit above average and kept him around.
Yeah, and then there was the other one I was going to say into it. Not just the catacomb with it. Now reanimation is not just like a passive ability that you do. Oh, you shot and killed my stuff. Okay, I reanimate. Now reanimation is actually like it's more active. Like you actually interact with when you're going to trigger this, when you're doing this, when you're doing that. The Catacomb Command Barge targets a unit, stuff like that. Like yes, there is still some passive command phase effects to it, but it's a lot more interactive as far as like you're actually doing something. You're not just letting it happen. So, any closing thoughts? Any final thoughts other than you hate Necrons?
No, it's just you got to change. I mean, it's the biggest thing with the change of edition. Whatever you were doing before, your list that was working well before, you're going to have to change things, change tactics, and we get some new models, but change how you play the game. And I think the idea of target priority is going to be one of those.
Yes.
I think with the armies that I typically play, like DeathWatch and Votan, turn 1, I'll go after the biggest target I can do. And because of the stratagems and things I had available, I was able to take that down consistently. So many times when I would kill Bellicor turn 1, they say, oh, he's not going to hit. He can't reroll hits, and he reduces damage by 1, and still I'd be able to smoke him off the table. I went to a tournament last weekend, this past weekend, the last 9th edition tournament. I took my Deathwatch, and they just killed everything. I tabled all 3 of my opponents. And that is not going to work the same in this edition. So my first, I went after the biggest thing I could, those Lich Guard, and that was a mistake because they were just too durable. So I think the big thing I'm going to focus on is kind of changing how I pick targets to go on and maybe think about scoring as opposed to taking out the biggest guy in the room.
You almost got the Reanimator on turn 1. And I think that was possibly someplace that should have been because that Reanimator was very critical.
Yeah.
Being able to get those extra couple of guys here and there was crucial for me keeping the Lich Guard alive. I mean, maybe not. It's only an additional D3, but it's additional D3 every time I do the reanimation on anything. So probably getting that Reanimator off the field would have been very crucial.
Yeah, and that would have been better than going for the big unit that he was supporting. Sometimes it may be just more important, especially because there are new ways where we can get precision. Then you got to really decide when is a good time to go for the character rather than the unit itself.
I would be interested to see in a later matchup this week or the next matchup, whoever I play against, if it may be you or someone else, I'm going to tell them, be like, you really got to get that Reanimator off the field and try and push it to a point where, for me, it almost like, even though the Reanimator did its work and survived, I almost feel like I need a second one. I almost feel like I need 2 Reanimators just to make sure that this continues on and continues through it. 95 points is a little steep, but it's something I want to see. We'll see how things develop with it. The 4 up Feel No Pain's nice, but yeah, I really wonder because, like, if you cut that Reanimator out from underneath my legs early, then now what? How much, do the Lich Guard die? Did the Lich Guard die then? Is the question, But it wasn't really only the Lich Guard that he was supporting too. Like, he didn't do anything for the Scorpax. He didn't do anything for the Doomstalkers.
His shooting output was not really good. It didn't really. I don't think he scored any wounds.
No, he just really made the Lich Guard live forever.
Yeah, that was the big problem.
The Lich Guard live forever.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mr. Lane, Game 1 is in the books.
That was the first
I'm
one.
currently undefeated in 10th edition.
I'm currently unwon.
You are currently
Always
defeated
defeated.
in 10th edition.
I am.
Undefeated champion right here, champion. Guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Please leave comments down below if there were certain things you questioned, maybe some of the rules that you might have thought we misinterpreted. Love to hear your input. Love to see what we can do to help improve our game, help improve your game, and help improve everyone's game. It's a lot, the whole massive learning curve right now. And the fastest way that we're going to get to the top is learning all this stuff as a group. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the battle report. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.